everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. So I'm here today for the second installment in the Stitchers Habadashery ephemera making theme that I'm going with. This is just a little series on making sort of stitching related ephemera for journals. So today I'm working with some sewing bobbin labels. Basically, these are the round labels that you find on the end of your sewing thread. So this is an example of a vintage sewing thread. It's an old German brand, and so these are the ones that have the really pretty labels on them, and they typically are relatively easy to peel when they get older. This one is a little bit tough, so I'm not going to really bother with it. I think if I were to slip a razor blade under, I could probably get it off, but I'm just going to leave that one on. Then here's another one. This is from a Canadian company here, J&P Coats. This one might come off a little easier. So there we go. So see, they come off, and then you can just sort of press the inside back through again, and you'll have the whole label there. And sometimes they've got them on both edges. This one has both ends, but that one does not want to come off. The old glue is still very strong. And then this one is like probably an 80s one from Coats as well, J&P Coats, and it is still quite stuck on, but you can probably steam them off or run a razor blade under them. So I do have a few. I just grabbed like a couple that I have grabbed and collected in times past, but then, you know, the joy of the world today is that we have digital things. So I did find this digital of these old labels, and you could use a punch or cut these out. Funny enough, I did not have the perfect size punch. I had a punch that was ever so slightly too large and another one that was ever so slightly smaller. So the one that was ever so slightly smaller, if the majority of what was in there is sort of centered, I would use it. And I did cut a couple with the bigger punch because I thought, oh, hey, I can just shade around that. The rest I did cut with scissors. So all of that being said, we have quite a few to work with, I think, for this project today. And there's a few things that you could do with them, but I'm just going to focus, I think, today on just doing some fun collaging with some other sewing related stuff that I'll show you. But one idea I do want to put out there that I'm not going to do today, but that you could easily do is, you know, these little things make wonderful charms. You could cover these with embossing ink and emboss them, and they would get that nice plasticky hard texture. Then you could affix them to things. You could punch a tiny hole and put them on a bulb pin as a charm. A couple other things that you could cover them with is glossy accents or even clear nail polish. All of those things will give you a nice firmer texture to this kind of a small item. So I'm thinking, however, I want to do kind of some ephemera and collaging with them using a focal point. And what I want to use as the backgrounds, I have all of these vintage French like 70s magazines that are about needleworking. If you're in Canada, I don't know if everybody had this series or not, but in French it was Défi Onegay, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that. I've never said this word before. I'm not sure. I'm relatively good at French, but I haven't used that word before, so it's not my first language. But they're really lovely magazines. They have a lot of different needleworking, knitting, crochet, all sorts of different types of needleworking, macrame and tatting and everything. But I really like both the this is like a herringbone that's being demonstrated. Like, I really like their tutorial type images, as well as just they're beautiful. They're really beautiful magazines. So we'll probably look for some cool like people or something to use as focal points with these in the background. So I think I'll use this as one background, and then these could be focal points. They're very cool. And I like how there's so much like blue and pink that they use. It's really nice. And lots of images like this, if you are doing some kind of a textile type journal, you'll find a lot of like nice fodder for doing that. Even like these pages that are like measurements and stuff, and you know, patterns, and like these, you know, mailing things like sizing charts. All of this makes really nice fodder for journal making. Okay, so I think I'll go with these, and I'll just set these ones aside, and I'll set the book aside for now. So let's start and decide maybe on, well, we'll just start with one page. I think that would be a good idea. And I think what I want to maybe make are a couple of tags. So I'm going to just tear this down to a size that I would like to make a tag with. Maybe a pocket would be good too. This would be a really cute pocket. A couple pockets. And then we still have these images, which you could use. I might use her as a focal point for something. So if we were to use just kind of what we had right here, I will get a piece of paper to back this with. I'm still using up these funny fake FBI wanted papers that I got in an estate auction of vintage books, like old books that were used in a movie set. There was a box, like a banker's box, of these like fake FBI files. Yeah, so it's not a real poster, don't worry. I'm not in some weird FBI investigation or anything. Okay, so I'm just going to glue stick this down onto this here to give it some weight and backing. And then I'll probably grab another piece for the pockets for the same purpose, just to back them a little. They don't need to be as thick because they're going to be pockets. We're not going to be writing on the back, but I do want to give them a little more weight. I also love a lot of the patterns that were in these books. The empire waist kind of nightgowns and dresses are so pretty. Okay. So old sewing threads are often sold in thrift stores, like in bags, like by the bulk. Sometimes the thread is no longer good for sewing. Over time, thread does kind of wear out, but that being said, a lot of the time it is good for sewing still. I've found more good than not good, really, and I especially like when I can find like an old sewing box that's just full of all of the threads and notions that belong to someone. I always find it to be like a really fun experience, like you're sort of walking in the shoes of the person whose sewing kit, you know, this was. So try to like think about things like that, especially when you get them from something like an estate sale or whatnot. It's kind of nice. Okay, so I think that's mostly glued on. I'm going to stitch around all these anyways, but I'm just going to kind of make sure that it's relatively well put together here for now. So now a focal point. I think I want to see a lot of this background still, so I think I'm actually going to do something kind of fun with her. And what's inspiring me is that the top of her head has been cut off by this picture, not by me. So I'm just going to fussy cut around her here. Okay. And then I'm going to plunk her on right there, actually. Where is my glue book? Over here. We'll just pop her on maybe a little toward the center right there. Then what I'm thinking is, because her head's been cut off, you know, I forget her name, but you remember that girl who, is it the Carmen Miranda? Yeah, and she had fruit all on her head. I'm thinking about the same kind of concept, but with these little sewing labels. Maybe she's got stitching on the mind, right? Maybe she's just thinking a lot about her sewing. So we will put a few of those up here, a few different sizes, I think, just to kind of, yay, yeah, that's cute. Okay, I'm going to use our glitter glue to affix those down. I'll just push them off to the side. I don't think it will be too hard to kind of reseat how I want them. Okay. Oops, there we go. So give it a little press. Make sure all the glue's down. Give this a little bit of ink around the edges. I think I'm going to leave this as a journal card, actually, because I like the shape of it rather than making it a tag. It's a good size for a journal card. Okay, so just a little ink to just kind of make things a little more vintage looking. Okay, so I like that. That's cute. So there's one. Now, these are both going to be pockets, but I think I'm just going to set them aside for a moment and maybe work with a different background so that we can use a few different things in this video and also not use up all these circles right away. But I do have more to cut out if needed. But I think what I would like to do is use both of these girls here as focal points, because I think they're really perfect for this. So I'll just cut them out and then decide on a background. I was sort of hoping to be able to use this blue, but unfortunately it's gotten too little. This would be a cute little journal card though, so I'm just going to cut that out. And obviously all the scraps that you pull out of things like this would be amazing collage bits. So maybe I'll use this as the background this time. Unless I can find like a nice light blue again in this book. Which I might be able to do relatively quick. We'll see. Maybe not. Oh wow, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? More pink, red. More pink. These pages are not that easy to flip through. Like, they're big. No, I don't think we're going to find anything as fast as I want to. Maybe do one final. we're going to go with what we have. Oops. And then these I do want to make tags from, I think. So okay. And we will tear here because there's a little rip in this paper and I don't want that. And then a good width for one tag probably is that. I'll just trim the bottom here. And this one, I think I'll use this smaller side. Okay. So then we will cut and leave a little of this like cute yellowy kind of buttercream color around. I think that's kind of nice. You could also use like paper dolls. A technique like this I think would be really cute. So I think I'll have her like right there. Decide where we want. I think I want her like there, so I'll probably trim more off the bottom. So let's just glue these on maybe. Actually, no, not quite yet because I want to layer some of the sewing tabs behind them. So I've got glue on the back of this one and I'm just going to sort of lay it down gently. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. But then we're going to be able to lift them up to put some things underneath. So I kind of want her head to come up in the middle of the seam there. All right, so now we can put glue on a few of these. One there. Stick that one down. And one over here. Maybe one under here. I want to see the spool cotton right there, most of it anyway. There we go. Okay. And you can just keep going in with these until you feel like you like how it all looks. I feel like 3 is a good number for this. So I'm going to stick this all the way down now. And then trim the bottom off of her legs there. Okay. And we will back these with some paper. The other thing that you could do with these is make like faux buttons with them. I think I know I showed you that during Ephemera with the button card. You could make button cards with these, or like spool, you know, spool label cards. That would be kind of cool. To make like a faux button, you could you just use a punch or something to cut small circles, and you layer about probably 4 to 6 layers of like cardstock or manila folder. You just layer them on top and you put your image on the very top, and then you can like pop the holes through. Maybe we'll make something like that actually today too. Okay. Okay, and then we'll just make these into tags. Go. Now we have 2 tags here, and I'm going to, if I can find my little punch here. Oops. There it is. I was just using it. So now we will punch holes in the top here. And you know what could be kind of nice with these is, you know, we'll stitch them on obviously, but grabbing some different threads that sort of go with the color scheme a little bit would be nice. And we'll use that as what we can tie, kind of free form, just get like, you know, a good length. And you can slip this right through the hole. Maybe I've got a few too many of the brown. Let me just take one out there. There we go. And then we can slide this through the slot here, make a loop, make a slip knot, and pull these through. There we go. And then you'll have this cute topper for your tag that's actually, you know, threads, and that will go along with the overall theme. And then when you stitch around it, you can stitch right through. So that'll be cute. So I'll just do the same with this one. And I just use like scrap thread that I keep in what I call my ort that I learned from Anne Brooke, textile artist. She coined that term, I think, from 52 tags, and it's just a jar that you throw all of your threads that are waste threads from your sewing and your stitching and whatnot, and you know, you can use them for things later on. I use them a lot in journal making and ephemera making because they come in quite handy. It's a quick way to add some nice texture too. So there we go. So those are pretty cute. I think they need a little ink though, for sure. And then obviously I will be stitching around them because I think for the majority of my ephemera, for my stitching journals, I will be doing a lot of stitching. Although I tend to do a lot of stitching on my ephemera period. I just feel like it gives it a more done kind of look. It just makes everything feel kind of sturdier and finished. It gives a heavier weight to even thinner papers. It gives kind of like a bit of a thicker feel and like an outline. So yeah, okay, those are done. Now, what I was saying before, maybe we could do like a button type card. And maybe we could do it right on here. So if I cut out this, it'd be like a button card, but it'll be a spool thread card. And I'm just going to get something to back it with here. We have a fake memorandum from the Philadelphia Police Department. Again, from that weird paper that I got from that auction. I love it though, it's great. It's also just nice to use it all this paper up. It's actually really nice paper. I don't know where it came from, but it's really nice paper. It's gray and like a milky kind of, or yellowy color. Okay, so we'll use this as our background. You know, I think maybe this might not be thick enough for a button card. I'm going to get something a little thicker. I need a little more heft. And you know what? I've got this. This will work. This is like from a accordion style book that I've used for making multiple journals, and it's like a heavier weight kind of. It's like a cardstock weight. It's a little more substantial. So we'll just stick that on there. That'll be better. Going to use these grid lines to make this straight. All right. So now we have this, and so to make the buttons themselves, I need like a piece of card. Manila folder. Here we go. So I have this punch. It's a little bit bigger than what these the digitals are, but that's okay. We'll make it work. All right, let's start with that and see how far that gets us. Push those here. I'm going to move that out of the way because that's going to be for the next idea. So first thing is just kind of start gluing these together. For the purposes of this project, I think I'll do 4. So there's one, and that's got good thickness to it. So you can see it's decently thick. That's 4. Okay. And I think I want to do 6 of these all together. I was trying to do them in a mass making way, which is just harder. Don't do it. Just do them one at a time. Oh my goodness, or they get all off center. Okay. That one is a little wonky, but we're going to live with it. We've got 4. Now 5. Okay, and I need a couple more of these. Did I lose one? Maybe. Let's just do one more. So apparently I can't count, maybe. Alright, so here we go. This one is bothering me. I'm going to need to trim it a little. There we go. Alright, now we need to put the spools on the front as the focal point. So we'll get the punch out of the way. Oh, these are sticky. Okay, here we go. So I think I'm going to try to use the ones that I can fit like mostly on. Get most of what's on them, because we're going to have to trim the excess. So I mean, it's not like a huge big deal if we miss, you know, if we don't have all of it, it's all right. That one fit. No. I really like using different parts of like vintage packaging to make ephemera. Just make sure we get the girl's head on this one, and where it says spool cotton. Where'd that one go? We have one of those. Do we have one of these ones? No. Okay. Now we're going to go around and cut off the excess here. This is another time when you can do glossy accents or embossing to make them even more rigid. I'm not going to do that today. The nice thing about having these digitally is that I can, you know, cut them and not feel like, oh no, I'm wasting this beautiful old label and I'm not getting 100% of the label. I'm cutting away parts of it, and you know, that doesn't matter because they're digital. I can print them again. That's the nice thing about digital, is it's like not as precious. I have things that like I just can't use because I'm like, this is from 18 something, and you know, but the truth of the matter is, like, if you love it and you bought it as a supply, use it. Because we can't take it where we will eventually go, right? You know, I'm starting to look at things, you know, I guess because I do a lot of estate sales and stuff, like, hopefully I don't have the all the stuff that I love and collect over the years just ends up in an estate sale when I'm no longer able to use it. I don't want to do that to myself. Okay, so now what we want to do is, the whole fun of a button card is like making it truly like a button card, like those cards that you get that have buttons on them. So to do that, we're going to make 2 holes. I'm going to do it just this way with my my pokey tool here that I poke my signature holes with. So there's one. And then afterward, once you've got all your holes, you're going to notice, I'll show you with this one, you know, as you do this, because you're punching through multiple layers of cardstock, just watch your fingers, you're going to get these popped out. You can burnish it just on your table to flatten it out if you want, but also it kind of aids in the whole button card look. It gives a little dimension. It will hold the button up a little off of the card. So you may not want to do that. The other thing you can do is you can make, you can stamp a label that says buttons, or, you know, floss labels or whatever, and you can stick that on your button card as part of the ephemera piece. Or maybe you want to make, or you want to use like a label from an old sewing company, or, you know, another kind of vintage packaging from something else that's sewing related, or like an old company logo, or, you know, you can make it as like vintagey as you want. You know, like I have this hanging around. If I was using like a, say like a white or maybe a coffee dyed paper, I could turn this into a label and put something here like, you know, J&P Coats or something, and I could add a date. So yeah, there's a lot of options. Now, I don't know how well these are going to go on here just on their own, because this could be a bit of a loud paper to put them on. But what I might do is just put some kind of paper behind them. And I have a punch that's ever so slightly bigger. It's one of these punches though, so very cantankerous. These are not good punches. But I'm going to try to use maybe packaging paper and see if I can punch these. Maybe a little too big, let's see. If I laid this behind and I laid this on, do we lose the cool effect of the paper or not? Okay, actually that punch behaved. I should stop insulting it. Just to kind of give them like a background, but I don't want to lose all the cool pink graph paper. Just going to do this and see how it looks. Yeah, okay, I like it actually. I think it's cool. So I'm going to put a little glue just on the back of the button. Going to press it down. There's again that texture there that kind of wants to pop it up, but I want to keep that texture because it's ultimately going to help things stand up. So I'll just take a quick break and I'll glue all of this down and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so I ended up getting a phone call and did a little bit more on this than I'd planned to, but these all got glued on, and I've actually, I'll show you the next step now. So once I glued them all on, what I did was, I also stitched to just put the stitch at the back here, and then I stitched around the card. So I'll show you what I did on this one, because I ended up, while I was on the same phone call, also doing this one. So made a couple more of these. Now what I do is, with these kind of cards, I like the back to be writing space, but I do like the stitches there. So I'm not going to back it. I'm actually going to leave it like that. So I just go in through the front. Oh, and by the way, I poked the hole through the card already, so it's easier to navigate with my needle. And then I just come in through the front, and I leave the tie at the front of the card. So I just do like a double knot one way and then the other way, because that's sort of the most secure way to do a knot. Okay. I'm going to just tighten it, and where'd my scissors go? There they are. So now we just trim this. So now you just have those cute little knots on the front, and here we go. We've got these little button cards. So I think they're super fun. They have like a nice feel to them as ephemera too. Like they're like a nice, kind of a little bit heavier, but not too heavy. Then the other thing I did while I was away is I did what I said would be fun, which would be to cover these in embossing powder. And this is like a color shifting kind of iridescent embossing powder. So now they have like a nice kind of texture to them. So they will be glued down. Then I'm just going to save a few of these actually just to maybe make clusters or glue down in my journal. I think these would be really nice with clusters with like a little bit of, you know, lace and also like threads and stuff like that. You could make really cute clusters with them, but I won't do that today, so I can be you know, in a decent amount of time finishing things up. So let's just review what we made today. So obviously the 2 button cards. Then we have these little embellishments, some of which are embossed. Then we have these 2 tags. That's just using the these spool papers in the background in a collage. And then this journal card, and this one's using them kind of as an upfront embellishment on another image. And then I ended up just making this into a pocket. It doesn't have any spools on it, but it would be super cute as a little set to go with that. So I thought I would show it to you. So that's it for me for today. I hope you enjoyed this little fun way of using these spool papers. And I will be back again with another episode of Stitcher's Habadashery. So take care and have a lovely day. You can find all my social media information down below in the description box. And subscribe if you haven't already. We have fun here. Bye for now.